What? No theme music, nah?
Gusto, now Chris the host. Man, I make a little dinner while busting joke. Come to the yard, get it off your chest. There's no hard feelings when you're rocking with the best. Everything's crisp, everything's nice. Throw a little sugar, add a little spice. Hard school questions, cook a little rice. Gamble like Vegas and throw a little dice. Raise your glasses, make a toast. Drop by Chris for a Sunday roast. Or 8 taste of his mixology. Get twisted and not off the Hennessy. Now your belly's full, play a game of ball. Gusto, he's coming from the old school. No if buts, maybes, whys. No silly questions, I tell no lies.
Everything Chris. 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 Got ready for this magic trick? 1, 2, 3. Boom. Alright, got next guest. Oh, yo. Punctuality, mate. Punctuality. Let me get my notes. See you ready. Let's do this. Boom. Hey.
Yes.
I'm doing.
Always on time.
That's it, man. Punctuality.
Yeah, gotta try, man. Gotta try.
Got TUCK in the building. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm alright, man. You know what I mean? Loving life, enjoying it, man. You know, so getting on with this stuff. So I love it, man. How about yourself? What you been up to?
Yeah, man. Just laying low until all this blows over, man. Trying to get over. There's a park nearby. Getting over there, getting some shots up. Going running every day. Trying to work out. Just dealing with this new way of life.
Getting that mid-range in check still, yeah?
That's it, man. That's it. You know it. The dying art of the mid-range game.
Yeah. That's a valuable skill to have, the mid-range.
Yeah,
Shout out
man.
Vince in the building. So, how have you been dealing with the quarantine anyway? How have you adapted to it?
It's been interesting. I mean, obviously, we've never seen anything or had to deal with anything like this before, and it was strange because, you know, when it came up to like mid-March, we had a game on the March the 13th, and the league canceled on the 14th or 15th. You know, right after the trophy final. So we had a game on that Friday, and then on the Thursday, the Premier League had just canceled like the day before. So Friday, we're heading down to Worcester for the game. Guys are texting me like, are we playing? Like da 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 da. And I was just like, I don't know. And we end up going. We didn't have a good game. Nobody's head was in it. And then, you know, 2 days later, the league's canceled. So we went from like full on mid-season practice every day, games on the weekends to nothing. And it was just like that first week, I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I was like, you know, found myself getting depressed, like, you know, kind of just falling into a slump a little bit. And And then, you know, I started getting out, started working out and started doing things. And you just kind of find a rhythm, and you find, you know, how to fill up your days. But it was definitely a transition for me. And just going from playing every day, being around the team every day to absolutely nothing. That was the biggest kind of shock for me. I think it was just like, it's kind of hard to deal with. Like, felt a little bit depressed at the beginning, but then, you know, you get into it.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Coming from in that aspect, it was the same with me. I was kind of had plans to get more networking involved with people, and the next thing you know, Corona hit, and then that was it. It was just like, all right, what do I do? So kind of just sat down with my arms just behind my back, like, what am I gonna do now? This is not gonna go the way I want it to go. Then eventually I got some talks from my team, and they said, let's do some of these online talks and see what happens. And yeah, it's gone better than I thought it would. So
yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few of these so far, and I've seen the ones you've been doing, man. I've been loving it, man. Like, I love that people are taking this time to kind of pick up on stuff like this. And you know, we're hearing all these voices that we don't really hear from on the regular basis, and you're hearing stories and narratives from people from around the British Basketball League, and it's all thanks, you know, to people like you who are taking the time to do this. So yeah, it's big, it's good for the culture, it's good for basketball in Britain. So much respect to you guys doing this.
Appreciate it, man. That's the aim, man. We want to see British basketball have that platform. Well, my main aim is to give you like this platform, so it's for you lot really. So, and we want to help you
100%.
grow, definitely.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So start getting into it, man. Where did you grow up, man? Where's
So
Mike
I'm
Tuck from?
originally, I was born in Toronto, Canada. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
Rat Tuck.
born, yeah, born in the area called the Beaches, and then moved up to the suburbs just outside the city to a city, well, a town. It's the city
All right.
now, but it's called Markham. So I went to high school there, and then after high school, I went down to the States, and I went to university down in the States. But yeah, I'm born and raised in Toronto, Canada.
All right, dope, dope. And then you went to high school there as well and everything.
Yeah, Markham District High School represent.
There we
Shout out the
go. There we go.
Marauders.
When did you fall in love with the game, man? When did basketball come into your life? And then you just said, "Yep,
Um,
I'm a hair baby."
it was I started playing around I think 9, 10 years old, and I was always the tallest kid in my class. So I think my
Nice.
dad kind of recognized that pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
he's the one who put a basketball in my hand, and yeah, I think at 10 years old, went and started just playing in a local league.
yeah,
And I saw you talk to Drew earlier, and you're like
yeah,
you asked about your first memories of basketball, and
yeah, yeah.
mine was my dad taking me saying, "Okay, you're gonna go play basketball today." Like we had gone
Oh,
to the park
already.
and stuff like that, but he took me down there, and I remember the coach, when I got down there, the coach saw me walk in the gym, and his eyes like lit up. He's like, "This kid's like a foot taller than everybody else." So he was all over it, and then from then on, it was on. Like every weekend I was playing basketball, and my dad was signing me up to as many teams as I could, and ended up getting kind of recruited to go to the high school that I went to, and
Yeah.
had a really good team there, and that's what led to me getting recruited and going to a Division 1 down in the States.
Oh, that's dope, man. So, and then you went to what Division 1 school did you go to in the States?
I went to Loyola University, Maryland. So it's
Oh,
in
yeah, the same one that
Baltimore.
Ashley Hamilton went to.
No, he went to, I think, Marymount, which is on the
Oh,
West
yeah.
Coast in
Okay.
California and Long Beach.
So many of them.
I was on the other side. I was on the East Coast in Baltimore near DC.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like in the wire and all that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you
Hamilton
didn't
was
cast
probably
in that film.
surfing on the beach. I was dodging bullets in Baltimore.
Oh, man. So how was that? Oh, how long was you there for? 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
I did 1 year of prep school at Maine Central Institute up in
Yeah.
Maine, and then I went down there, and I was there for 4 years, and it was great, man. I loved it. The school was, really, really nice school, in a very nice area of the city. Met a lot of great people there. The basketball was good. We were a mid-major school in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the MAC. So we played against decent competition, and I just had a great experience there. Obviously, it was a bit of a culture shock coming from Canada down to the States, and then coming from a suburban kind of town outside of Toronto to go into like a rougher type of city like Baltimore with there's a lot of gun violence and stuff there, but
Yeah.
we saw that and we recognized that kind of stuff, but
You kind of avoided it.
we stayed in our good parts of the city, and I had a great time there. I love Baltimore. It's an amazing city with some great people there. So yeah, overall I had an amazing experience there. My coach was Jimmy Patsos. He was the assistant coach at Maryland. So right after they won the national championship in 2002, he came over and started coaching at Loyola. So I had a great coach, great coaching staff, great teammates. I loved it there.
So you managed to avoid all that antics that was going on outside of basketball in Baltimore. So how was that though? Like you near it though? Was it in the back of your mind?
There's always a few stories that come up, and probably a few that I can't really tell on camera.
Yeah.
But there's the one that always stands out to me was my first summer. When you go to Division 1, they typically make you come down and do at least one summer school session. There's 2 summer school sessions. They make you do one to get some extra credits just in case you screw up during the year, so you have some credits to fall back on. So my first summer, I stayed in these townhouses that were just off campus near the street called York Road. and there was a CVS, so it's kind of like a Boots, or like a, you know, like a big pharmacy kind of convenience store. And that was about 500 yards away from where we were. We were in the backyard, you know, having a few drinks, relaxing, and then we just hear like pop pop. We hear like fireworks, and
Oh, damn.
I'm just like, what's that? And everyone there who's already been going to the school for a while, they're like, let's go inside for a while. So we go inside, turn on the news, and some guy had been shot with a shotgun, like in the parking lot, literally
Mad.
like, you know, 500 feet from us. So that was a big eye opener and like a culture shock. Like, you know, this is the stuff when I was growing up you saw on TV or in the movies or whatever. And now I was like, wow, this is a reality down here. Like, this is some people's communities and their lives. So big time difference from what I was used to.
Okay, cool. So we're fast forwarding now. So what was your transition from, say, when you finished college and coming up to Sheffield? What was you doing between that time? Just before.
So my mom was born in England, so I knew
Oh.
I knew I could apply for my British passport. So I did that my sophomore or my junior year while I was at Loyola. So I knew when I was coming up to graduation, I was like, okay, I want to play pro basketball in Europe. People had told me, you know, if you have a passport, you have Bosnian status, so it typically makes it easier for you to get a job on most of these European teams, because you don't count as an import, you count as just like a Bosman. So I got that passport. I signed with an agent coming out, and then he hadn't found me a job or anything, and I graduated. I went back up to Toronto, and it was actually I was at my house in Toronto, and this was right around the pre-draft time, and I got a call from the head of player development at the Toronto Raptors. His name's Courtney Charles, really good guy, and he's said, we're doing pre-draft workouts right now. You know, sometimes guys can't show up, and we might need you to fill a spot or whatever, something like that. So he's like, are you available? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm available. Yeah. Like, I'm ready, you know, get my shot in front of the Raptors. So I waited for about two and a half weeks, and I didn't get a call, and I didn't think I was going to get a call. And then all of a sudden the phone rang, and he said, you know, it was like 8 or 9 at night, and he was like, we need you at the gym for 8 a.m. Can you be here? And I was like, yes, I'll be there. Cool. So I shot down there. I did a pre-draft workout with the Raptors. Dante Green, who went to Syracuse, was in my workout. Roy Hibbert went to Georgetown and then went to the Pacers. He was in my workout, and then a couple other guys. And you know, I had a great workout. Like I couldn't miss a shot in it. But obviously, I wasn't at that level for the NBA. They weren't really looking at me anyways. It was more for the other guys. But out of that workout, I got to meet Leo Routens, who at the time was the head coach of Team Canada. And he kind of took me under his wing after that. And from that workout, I went and started working out with the Canadian developmental team, like literally left that practice and went to another practice with the Canadian developmental team. And
really? From
there, he introduced me to my agent, Bernie Lee. And then Bernie got me my first gig in Europe. So I went from that first year I played in Cyprus.
Yeah. How was that?
And then I played in Luxembourg. And then I played in France, and I started the season in France, and then I left in November, and I didn't have another job lined up, but I told the team, okay, I'm just going to fly to London and wait for a job, because if I'm in Europe, it would be quicker for a team to pick me up.
Yeah. And
I was in London waiting for a job, and Sheffield had emailed me over the summer, so I went on to Eurobasket, whatever. I was like, let's see where Sheffield's at. And they were like #1 in the league that year. It was like 2009, 2010. So I was like, let me shoot a quick email to Sheffield, you know? And then Atiba responded. They invited me up to one of their practices, and they offered me a contract like right after that, the next day. So it was just like, it was kind of a whirlwind. I didn't know like what was going to happen. And you know, I knew I had a good practice, but they were like, yeah, we really like you. We want you to come in. And they actually had a player who was injured at the time. So it was a perfect opportunity.
Perfect timing, isn't it?
Yeah. Step in and get good minutes right away. So, and literally I signed there in December, and we won the cup at the end of January. So like within a month of me getting there, we had won a piece of silverware. So it was just like, it couldn't have been the better start to my career in the BBL.
That's amazing. How was that winning that cup, man? How was that challenge and that journey to winning the cup, man?
It was dope. Like I think my second game here, we played Leicester Riders in the semifinal, and we won that
Yeah,
game. And then like it was like my third, fourth, maybe fifth game was the cup final.
yeah.
And that, like, back then that was a team where we had Tafari Tony, Mike Cook,
Yeah,
Perry Lawson.
yeah,
Uh,
Zach as well. Zach, was Zach there?
no, Zach was 2 seasons later he came.
And
But we had Todd Cawthorn.
who's another player I'm thinking of? Sheffield. Forgot his name now. A wing. I think he's forward. Can't remember his name. And I know him as well. He's from East London. His name's
Zach
gone.
Gachette.
Huh?
Zach Gachette.
Big guy. Ah, I've
East
lost
London. Zach
No,
Gachette.
I know Zach. Ah, his name's out of my head, and I know him very well. That's the joke. His name is gone out of my head now.
It'll come back.
He'll
But
come
yeah,
back.
so we had a good we had a solid team that year. Mike Cook was our gun that year. He got player of the year that year, and I had some great vets on the team like Todd Cawthorn, who would, he's a BBL legend, and just guys
Yeah,
like that who kind of, just a great introduction to the team and the
yeah.
league, and yeah,
Oh,
it was fun.
Olu.
Oh, Big O, Olu
There we
Babalola,
go.
my guy.
There we go. It came easy.
Yeah, Big
Olu.
O, the Wing King. Yeah,
Winking, yeah.
yeah. He started his own. He started the Wing Kings. He
Oh,
runs a restaurant in Sheffield. Yeah,
oh, dope, man.
yeah. Shout out to Olu and the Wing Kings.
Yeah, I need to come go to one of those spots there when I
Oh,
come back
you
to
definitely
Sheffield.
do. The funny thing about Olu is that before he stopped playing basketball and got into the cooking side, he used to cook for us, like at the team house.
Oh,
So
really?
we were like his guinea pigs over the years. Like he was trying out all his different recipes on us and seeing what we liked, what we didn't like, and now he's doing it as his full-time gig. So it's pretty funny
That's
how the way the world works like that.
that's good, man. That's dope. So
Yeah.
when you came over, you mentioned Atiba, that he's the one that got you on the team. Was he a player coach at the time, right?
Yeah, it was only his second year as a coach. He had started off just as a player and then player coach. And it was interesting because I had
Yeah,
never played with a guy who had been player coach before.
yeah.
And Atiba's only about 6 months older than me. So it was just like, it was, a lot different from what I was used to. Usually used to just like an older guy coach on
Yeah,
the sideline. Whereas Atiba was more, you could, I mean, he was good. He was still learning, and having to like doing the learning curve while you're playing as well. There was,
yeah.
he had a lot going on. So I always take my hat off to him during those days, because I don't think I could ever do that. Guys like
Nice.
Atiba and like Fab Flournoy, like I don't see, like, to see what's going on the floor while you're playing on the floor, and like
I've been
make
coaching at the same
corrections,
time.
and then also make subs and like call plays. Like there's a lot going on. So I always respect that big time. But yeah, Atiba, I have a lot of respect, and I got to give up my hat off to Tiba, because he's the reason I'm here, and why I've been here for so long. And we work well together, and I appreciate everything that he's given me.
So what kind of differences did you experience with him being a player coach and then him transitioning to just a coach?
Yeah, well, I mean, I tell the young guys on the team now, like, you didn't get to experience the old Atiba. Like, I got to experience the fiery, like, young, like, pissed off Atiba. Whereas he's a little bit more laid back now. But I think back then, when he was playing, and we had such a solid team those like first 2 seasons, that he
Yeah,
would, I mean, he didn't have to do too much coaching, to be honest. We had
yeah.
a lot of guys that were solid players, and he took everything on board. When guys had suggestions, he was very open to that type of thing. And then, he transitioned into just the coaching side, and he's been great, man. Like, it's interesting because I've been here for 11 years now, so I've kind of watched him grow up
Okay,
as
yeah.
as a coach, and I've watched him develop and kind of refine his game. So he's a lot. What he is now is a lot different from what he is, let's say, 3-4 seasons ago, to like three seasons before that. You know, he's definitely developed in all areas. So it was great to see that progression.
Okay, and you said he's the reason you stayed at Sheffield so long. What's the reason
Well,
behind?
he's the coach, and you know, between him and Sarah Bakovich, the GM, they make all the personnel decisions, and they, you know, the Sharks have been great to me, man. They, you know, when I first got here, I thought it was going to be one and done, you know,
Yeah,
because of the start of my pro career had been a bit kind of
shaky.
up and down, yeah, and like you're going to different places every year, and you don't really know where the next job's going to be, and then to have that kind of stability here, you know, we won the cup that first year, and then they asked me to come back the next year and offered me, you know, decent contract, and it was kind of winning that first year, and the situation and the environment here, the people, the club, it's very like family like atmosphere. I couldn't say no, and then, you know, after that, you know, just, you know, met my girl here. We moved in together. It's just, you know, it's been a great experience, and I can't believe it's been over 10 years now. It's just the time is
Flown by, innit? Any children?
not yet.
Not yet.
Soon
All
though.
right.
Soon. Don't worry.
No worries, man. So, fast forward a little bit, or go to another subject. Is the Commonwealth Games you played there with Drew? So he told me his perspective on it. What was
Drew,
your?
yeah, he was my roommate. He was my roommate, man.
Was your roommate? Yeah.
Yeah. He was the roomie, man. That's my guy. Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible experience. One of the ones that I'll never ever forget. And I remember, you know, getting the letter in the mail saying, you know, you've been selected with Howard. I think it was like 75 other guys, and are you available to come down to the? Are you available to come to the tryouts? So they did 2 trials, which obviously made it through both, and then got selected for the final team, and then, you know, then we were off to Australia, and it was just like the whole thing, just like the way it was run. First off, going to Australia, that was cool. Country I've never been to, you know, place I've always wanted to go to, and then just being there and like the whole vibe, and like Drew was talking about, when you're in the village, it's insane. Like you're walking around, you're recognizing certain athletes. You're like, oh my God, that's that guy. And then the energy there is like, you know, people are like, you can see like people are just into their zone when they're there. And when you're in there's such a sense of community when we were in our tower block, because it was essentially where the village was built, it was all brand new, and they were building dorms for the university, but they had all these different towers, and each tower was a different country. So we were in our England tower, and it was just to be in there, and you're walking around, and there's a little pool out back in a common area, and like you're talking to different people, like you're seeing what's going on, and when people win, you know about it, so you're like they're walking in the building, you're cheering, or there was just there was such a good vibe and sense of community there. And then there's like common areas where you go and see, you know, all the other athletes, or, you know, when you go to the cafe to eat, you're just walking around, you're like, oh man, you're like, I just saw that guy on TV last night, or like we went and watched his run this today, and they would give you free tickets to different events. So we were trying to go watch as many events as possible, and just get out there. Experience. Yeah, and then you're on the Gold Coast, you know, surfer's paradise. So like we were going down to the beach, hanging out. Me and Andrew Thompson from Leicester Riders, we were surfing like a couple of days. Just 2 big, huge white guys on surfboards. Yeah, and then at nighttime, you know, you would go out and have a few beers. One of the clubs we used to go to, Usain Bolt was there every night. So it was just like unreal, like who you're rubbing elbows with, and just the overall experience playing in it, and vibing and meeting people, and when we were in the pre-camp stuff, like talking to different athletes, and then seeing their process and how they prepared for games, or how they prepared for their sport, and seeing how, you know, the physiotherapy room, and how like advanced all that kind of stuff was. It was a pleasure to be a part of. And you know, the cherry on top was I got named captain of the team while we were at the event.
Oh man, how was that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, obviously me being Canadian and stuff, so I was kind of just like, I didn't know or whatever, but I've always, you know, considered myself British, and I've always embraced that part, you know, of me. And when we went down to the camp or everything, I guess I just had a really good impression. Obviously, I was one of the older guys on the team there, and I'd been captain at the Sharks for so many years before that. So I think that Coach Andreas he saw that in me, and he trusted me with that. And but it wasn't all me. Like, we had like a leadership group with Drew Lasker and then Orland Jackman. So it was kind of like the three of us kind of being the leaders of the team. But it was like I said, man, just to be there and be involved was incredible. Unfortunately, we didn't get any silverware, but just that's something that I'll never forget, and nobody can ever take away.
No, man, that's dope, man. And then came back. What did you take from that experience? You learned to be more focused coming into the next season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, like I said, seeing other athletes and the way they were like tuning up for things, and then also seeing like the process of the preparation that went into the games and stuff, learning from that coaching staff that we had with us. Being on the Sharks for so many years, you kind of get used to the same vibe and the same thing. So it was nice to be kind of thrown into a different pond and kind of see, how different people operate. And then also to see like the different guys on the team who are most of them are from around the BBL. Like, usually you're going head to head against these guys, and then you get to like play alongside them. So that was a cool vibe as well, learning how everybody operates and works. Yeah, the biggest thing I probably took away was the preparation that it takes to win at that level.
That's dope, man. So I'll backtrack a little bit. How did you adapt to the Sheffield, South Yorkshire life compared to coming from Canada? How did you adapt to that? I know Sheffield's a different culture. I used to live in Leeds, so I'm kind of familiar with Yorkshire a little bit.
Yeah.
But Sheffield's different. So how did you adapt to that whole Sheffield culture?
Now then, you're all right, pal.
Oh yeah. Right, Doc. You're right, Doc.
Yeah, that Doc. It's been great, man. I mean, Sheffield people are the salt of the earth. They're, super friendly, super nice. And the Sheffield as a city is great. A lot of young people here, 2 universities, so and a lot of good restaurants. It's a big city, but not huge. I think that's one of the big draws is that I come from a huge, Toronto, big, huge city, where it takes you like an hour just to drive over to your buddy's house. So like here, everything's, 10, 15 minutes away and
that's
super
a luxury
easy.
there.
Yeah, man. It's not like London, it's not the hustle bustle, but it still has that city vibe. So I love it here.
That's dope, man. So we'll go back to your winning resume. So you said you won a BBL Cup twice. Which one of those 2 wins you think was more gratifying for you?
Oof, interesting. I mean, they were both great. The first year obviously was like with Mike Cook and that group, and that was probably the most important because it was my first one there.
Yeah.
But the second one, the back-to-back one, was with like Steve D'Agostino, Paul Williams, Marcus Stout, Ryan Patton.
Yeah.
That one was probably because it was back-to-back and because I had been there from the beginning of the season, I felt like I kind of earned that one more, whereas the other one I kind of hopped onto the team, halfway through. Yeah. So probably the second one was a little bit more important. It was a good one. We beat Mersey Tigers with Tony Garbaletto.
Oh, that team. Oh, Mersey Tigers.
They were tough that year. Yeah, they were tough. So we squeaked that one out, and then we actually met them again in the playoff final that season as well. We ended up losing to them. So
you lost to them in the playoff final. Oh yeah.
Yeah, 2010, 11.
So who did you beat in the playoff final? Because you won that once as well, right?
Yeah, so 2016 we beat Leicester Riders down at the O2.
Whoa.
So that was a big
powerhouse.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they've they really picked up. Ever since they moved into the new venue, and even before that, they really picked their game up. And that year we had finished 4th in the league, and then they had finished 1st. So, and then we ended up getting through to the final, and that was just as sweet a victory. Down at the O2, my mom had flown over from Canada.
Yeah.
My girl, I had all my my British side of the family was there. A few of my friends were
You had to
there.
go to work.
Oh man, yeah. And then that was another one. I had a big game. I had a big double that game, and ended up taking home MVP honors for that match. So yeah,
You
that
got
was
MVP as well.
yeah,
Congratulations on that one.
one of my definitely between that and going to the Commonwealth Games, those are two of my favorite basketball moments for sure.
And how was that getting the MVP? Was that a shock to you, or was you prepared?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple guys like Gerald Brooks had a really big game that game as well, but I finished with 20 points and 13 rebounds, 4 assists. So I wasn't expecting to get it, but I ended up getting it. And I think you can see when you look at the tape when they announce my name, I'm like, and then I go up and get it. So yeah, big moment for me, and just proud moment.
Oh man, that's good, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
So there's a question I always ask all my guests that come on. So I want to know, what's your views on British basketball, the BBL or WBBL? What's your views on it, and what things you think are working, and what things you think they need to improve on?
I have positive views about the BBL. I think it's headed in the right direction. I don't think it's where it needs to be yet, but I think it's headed in the right direction. I think a lot of clubs are headed in the right direction. I think the big thing right now is everybody moving into their own venues, and I think that'll be huge for the league.
Definitely.
Newcastle Eagles were the first, or sorry, Leicester Riders were the first to kind of break that mold, and then now Newcastle's followed through. You can see Bristol's got big plans, and then the Sharks are actually making some big headway right now. So it's looking like the Sharks will hopefully be building in the next year. Top like 5 teams in the league into their own venues. I think you're going to see a big shift with the league, because all these teams aren't paying substantial amounts of money outside their circle. They're paying it kind of back into the club for venue fees and all that. And then also, just like Drew talked about earlier, just like being able to make your own schedule and have your training facility all in one place with the offices, and it just makes everything so much easier. Like for the Sharks, like obviously we play at Ponds Forge and they've been great to us, but we don't get to pick like our own practice time. Sometimes we get shafted and we have to go and practice at a different venue like across town. And then like the Sharks offices are like 30 minutes away from there, so there's kind of like this disconnect sometimes between the organization. Whereas you look at Leicester or Newcastle, you can see their offices are all in the same place. They've got weight rooms, training rooms there. They can practice on the court at whatever time they want. So it just makes things a lot easier. I think that the league has put their games on YouTube in the last 2 seasons, which I think has been great. I think the commercial value of that is huge. I think once the numbers don't lie. So once the numbers get up there and we can, attract some bigger sponsorship into the league, I think that'll really help. And then it also brings it up to like a worldwide platform where, I've got friends in America and Canada that always message me and ask me for links to the game and that type of thing. Yeah. So that's huge. I think beyond that, the next step would be maybe getting it back onto a major network like Sky Sports or something like that they had in like the late 90s. I think the more eyes you have on the game, the more attention it's going to get, the more young people you're going to influence, and potentially the more funding you're going to attract. So not only funding from commercial sponsorship, but I think the government needs to step up and start giving some more funding out to basketball. If you look at it, it's the second highest played team sport in the country.
Yeah,
that's probably got, in terms of funding wise, you got teams like rugby and like netball and all these other sports who don't have the same numbers that we have, and they're getting way more funding than us. And
air hockey gets up funding as well. I find
and it's crazy in my eyes, because you have this amazing sport where all you need is a basketball net and a basketball and a pair of shoes, and then it brings so many diverse communities and everything, and you can play it anywhere. It just brings everybody together. So I think that's another huge issue. And then the last thing, kind of brush onto what Drew was talking about. Yeah, like I think the league needs to take more time and market these characters that we have in this league. I think that'd be huge for the BBL and just create storylines and narratives that people can really bite their teeth into. And you know, you see it in the Premier League and other professional sports where, you know, they really peg the top players against each other, and people buy into that. So I think I've experienced a little bit already. When I go to certain gyms, I do get booed. I am like that.
Apparently, you're the villain out here.
So yeah, sometimes I get a lot of flack from Worcester and Leicester, but it's only because I've caused a lot of pain in those places. That's how I take it. It's flattering.
I totally agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, it just needs a lot of that marketing push. I think it's good that it's on YouTube, but I think they need to push that agenda that is on YouTube. Give some more marketing, push that marketing behind YouTube, because it's just the saying is on YouTube, and that's it. People, it's annoying because people who are basketball fans are gonna go on YouTube and watch. But what about the fans that want to know about basketball, can't access it, or they don't know how to access it? Well, I think that kind of marketing needs to be implemented. And I think my reason behind this talks I'm doing is more about interaction with players. I want people to feel like they're getting to know the players. You know what I mean? So like when we're talking and you're telling me the stories, I want everyone to feel like they're a part of that story as well. And you know, I think that's exactly the path I'm going through with this as well, man. Like I don't think they do that enough. Like, I just don't know. Like there's so many things they could do. Like Drew said, you know, have you out as a villain, like. At Mark advertised that Justin Robertson being a hero because he's from London and he's won an MVP. They could push that so much. In the summertime, having going to school, there's so much they could have done with that. So.
But I think also in the last like couple seasons, we've seen like more channels, like Instagram channels and other social media channels popping up, like BBL fans and Brit Ballers and stuff like that. Where
BBL Fix as well is doing one as well.
And I think that's great.
And Hooper's Voice as well.
Newcastle Eagles fans, like we need more stuff like that as well.
Shout out Newcastle Eagles fans.
The community, drive the culture, get more people, get more eyes on it, more people talking about it. And I think it's going to take time, but
I like them Newcastle Eagle fans. They've seen a lot of this stuff, man. So yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all over it. But yeah, there's more and more channels, and then guys like you doing things like this. This just only helps the culture grow.
It's definitely, definitely, man. And I love the sport, man. So, you know, there's other ways I want to get involved with the sport. So this was my angle.
For sure.
Next question. Favorite pre-game meal and favorite post-game meal?
Oh, man. Well, I try and keep it like somewhat healthy and somewhat light on game days. Usually like salad or vegetables, and then like some chicken or fish with rice or some sort of pasta. And then post game, I'm pigging out, man. Screw it. I'm a big fan of pizza. I'm a big, I don't know.
Domino's or Papa John's?
Man. I just love food. Say it again.
Domino's or Papa John's?
Papa John's, baby. Papa John's all day, all day. New one just opened up not far from my house.
But you know what? I'm gonna have to order Papa John's after this talk.
Going all out, man. It's pricey over here, man. You're going all
out.
Oh
my God, can't go wrong with a Papa John's, man. My brother introduced me to that. I was like, yo, what's this?
Yeah, man. There's crack in that sauce.
Yeah, man. That's dope. All right, here's my favorite part of these talks is hotspot questions.
Hotspot. All right.
Yeah, they're two 3-part questions.
Yep.
So the first part
run out.
Okay. Charge up. So first 3 part is a player you loved playing with, player you loved playing against, and a funny teammate.
I've been in the league for so long, man. There's a few guys, definitely. Most recently, the guy I've loved playing with is Mackie McKnight. He's
the point guard.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah, nice. Nice,
He's
nice.
just he's been here the last is it 3 seasons now?
Yeah, yeah.
2 seasons, 3 seasons. So, but just to watch his progression over the last couple of years, man, and then off the court, yeah, like we vibe. I really get along with the guys. So he's been a great guy to play with. Before him, probably BJ Holmes was my guy.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
love playing with BJ. I mean, these are all point guards. I guess because they pass me the ball as well. uh, but then, if you go back to the BJ days, like we had such a good crew of guys like Colin Singh, Zach Gachette,
Yeah.
Pat Horseman, John Barber, just really good guys that got along with really well on the court. And then even back to the beginning of my career, like we're talking about, like Mike Cook. I mean,
Okay.
he was a dog. Like, you know, he would get on your nerves sometimes, and because he was so competitive. But the guy, all he wanted to do was win, and like
When
he
yeah.
drove us and made us so much better. And I learned a lot from him. And then like Todd Cawthorn as well. I only played 1 year with him. It was his last year at the Sharks, but he's a guy I really looked up to and tried to kind of emulate my game after.
No worries. And a player you love playing against.
I've there's a lot. I mean, I always love going up against Drew. Shout out to Drew. And then the Eagles in general, like I just it's always been a bit of a rivalry between Sheffield and Newcastle,
Newcastle.
and
Yeah.
Fletcher for sure, like just so tough, man. Love
Craft,
going up
yeah.
against him. When Bernardini was at Leicester, like we get along really well off the court, but on the court we hated each other, and I love that rivalry. I love like going up against them. Drew Sullivan, another guy,
Oh,
PBL
Drew.
legend. Always
No, I
loved
remember
playing
Drew.
against him. Joe Chapman, when Joe Chapman was up on Newcastle, he's a
Okay.
throwback. Yeah, he used to kill us, so I love playing against them. I mean, the list could go on and on, man.
All right, all right. And then I said a funny teammate.
A funny teammate. I'm gonna have to go with my boy John Barber. John Barber Jr. He's probably the funniest teammate I played with. I
Go and
mean,
give us a
BJ was
story.
funny too. I mean, Olu was hilarious as well. Olu was just a joker. Zach Gachette, he's a joker.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, John Barber was probably the funniest guy
Go
though.
and give us a story, man. Is there any stories you remember?
None that are Instagram. Okay.
Oh my gosh! All right, fair enough, man. We do that off camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll hit you up later.
And the next three-part question is a player you didn't like playing with. So they're not necessarily someone you hate. They might be a friend, but you don't like playing with them. A player you didn't like playing against, so you're kryptonite, and a funny opponent.
Okay. I don't know if I can answer that first one. You might get me in trouble, man.
All right, you know what?
Uh,
You could say something, but you can say what might not say
you
the
know what I'll
name.
say? I'll say it's not that I didn't like playing with them, but there was times in practice and stuff where I'd just be like, "Damn, this guy." Mike Cook, like we talked about, like I know
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said
yeah,
I love playing with him, but there was like he was just so competitive. Like when watching The Last Dance and seeing how like competitive Jordan was,
yeah,
that was like Mike Cook's vibe. Like he just had that win at all costs, and it didn't
yeah,
matter
yeah,
where it was or when it was. It was like Monday morning on a practice that didn't really mean anything, but
yeah, yeah,
this guy's like playing to win, and if you're not playing to win, he's throwing the ball at your head.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, damn.
yeah, playing against, it's tough. Like, I mean, I would have to say the Riders and the Eagles, like over the course of the last decade,
All
have
right.
always been a thorn in my side. Like guys like Bernardini and Fletcher, just all like, a lot of close games, a lot of tough games, a lot of big losses. So those two teams have always been the toughest ones. And then funniest opponent. I heard Drew talking about Uric Williams
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
He's always a funny one. And like Drew was saying, like he'll sub in or whatever, and you'll be like, "What's up, York?" And then he'll just say some random things, or like you'll just be like, "What's this guy talking about?" He's not worried about the game at all. He was a funny one. Another throwback guy, probably Dave Allu.
yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Dave was always a funny guy, like one of my good friends, man. But before every game, he would always come over and just be like, "You let me shoot, I let you shoot, right? Okay, okay, yeah, good, good." And then Darius too. Darius the foe is such a joker, and I mean, I always knew he was a joker, and I've we've been friends a long time. But when he came to the England camp, he was hilarious, man. Just playing with him every day, and like he's just lightens the mood, just super jokes. Like,
So he went to the tryouts as well.
yeah, he was there, but he ended up getting injured, so he didn't come on the final squad with us. I think I could have been a different scenario if he had come with us, man. He's such a good player. But yeah, those are a few of the funny guys that I've played against, I guess.
Oh man, that's dope, man. That's some good story. Any other stories of any funny opponents with Darius?
Darius. No, I just I didn't realize how much of a jokester he was. Like every day in practice at the basketball England camp and stuff, he would just they'd be like doing serious talks, but then he would always be trying to find something to joke about or just like snicker about. So he's a funny guy, man.
Yeah,
Funny guy on and off the court.
that's cool, man. Anyone else who's still in? Anyone got any questions for Mike? Why you tuned in? And Mike, do you have any questions for myself?
Yeah, I mean, how did you like Leeds? And were you at uni there? Like, how did it come that you went to Leeds?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Leeds was a funny. This was a funny story how I chose Leeds. I was university. I went to Leeds for, but I remember going to a game, a women's GB game. This was about 2009, 8. There was a GB game, women's GB game in Sheffield. They had a game there in Sheffield. And this is the first time I'm coming out of London. So I'm a bit like, what? I said, this is different. Like they have they have clean air, they have grass. I was like, this is good. I was like, wow. I was just so amazed at my coach at the time. He was driving like, why are you so amazed? Like, it's only Sheffield. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. The trams, it had a different atmosphere, different energy.
Yeah.
Then I think I went back to college and I said, all right, I'm going to university in Sheffield or Leeds. So applied for all the universities. Leeds was the only one that accepted me. I just see I'm going to go to Leeds. And that's
Nice.
history. Went up to Leeds University, played at Leeds Carnegie, where Matt Newby was at the time.
Yeah.
Well, Worcester Wolves. And
Mhm.
he did a good job up there, built a program from the ground up and then did a fantastic job there. And I loved it there, man. Great
Yeah.
party city, great party people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been up there a couple of times for a few parties before. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great up there. And Matt Newby, what a great guy. I think I would go to say that he's probably one of the hardest working guys in British basketball right now.
Definitely.
It's a shame what happened with that Leeds Force team.
Yeah, man.
But to get that off the ground and sustain it for as long as they did, and I mean, I know they didn't have the best years, but they had some shining moments that will always stand out. And then now, fast forward to now, to Matt Newby getting a second chance at Worcester, and then having success right off the bat, like just really happy for that guy, because I think he
Yeah.
kind of got the wrong end of the stick at the end of the Leeds Force days there, but
Yeah.
went in and probably working with a much bigger budget than he was at Leeds, but he put together a solid team at Worcester.
He
So
did a
hats off, shout out to Matt Newby.
Definitely. He did a great job there, like you said. He did a fantastic job there. I think when he left, that's when it went downhill for that whole organization, because it was him that was really managing it very well. I think when they got rid of him or when he left or whatever happened, just went downhill. Like it was just like, you know what I mean? They couldn't maintain what he was building. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
well,
the
from my
whole,
understanding is that he had like all the teams under his belt, and like I think when you have something like that and it's all down to you, you know, there's just a point where it's too much on your plate, right? Like you can't do it all, or else you're getting spread too thin, and not every team's getting the right attention. And it's probably what happened. He had a lot on his plate, but from talking to guys that were around there or involved in the program, they said he's one of the hardest working guys in terms of, you know, practices, getting the games, preparing guys.
Oh, he's very organized. Very organized. Like when he helped us get us our sports pass, and then that sports pass could give us access to the gym anytime we wanted. He did a lot of that for us as well at university. Yeah. And you know, it would basically treat us like professionals, even though some of us was the lower team and he had the first team. I was in the second team. But some of us felt like we're professionals. We could go anytime, book a slot, and then work out and have a whole court to ourselves to work out to.
And that I mean, that's huge, right? Like you need things like that to help develop and get your game better and make everybody else's game better. Yeah,
he had the shooting gun. He had everything. He had the shooting gun. He made sure our uniform was set. He was organized, man, and that's what. Yeah. That's what I think what he's bringing to Worcester now. So his organization skills, his management skills, and his team personnel skills. So shout out to Matt Newby, man, doing a great job.
Big time. I agree.
I mean, and it's a shame that Leeds ain't got a team no more, because they did deserve a team. But
yeah, I mean, that's another thing. You know, we were talking about earlier about British basketball and what, you know, things that could make it better. And there's a few cities in the UK that don't have teams right now where, you know, they're big markets. Like, look at Birmingham. It's just sitting there, man. And it's the second biggest city in the UK. It's already got a history of basketball there.
They've got some talented players down here, you know. There's a lot.
They're producing a lot of great players out of Birmingham. So that's a city. Liverpool, Leeds. You know, there's all these other cities, and then even, you know, go up north, like Edinburgh could probably support a team. So
they could have a team.
There's a lot of
Sunderland had a team at once as well. Sunderland had a team. There's loads of cities that could have a team.
So yeah, I mean, I think the big ones to stand out to me are always Birmingham and Liverpool. Like, I don't understand why they don't have teams, because those are the two of the biggest cities in the UK. Those are big markets where, you know, the basketball culture could be spreading and should be spreading.
And Liverpool have a great culture in terms of how they support in their community. Their community is great. Sure. So if they had a team, they'll definitely have a great support in cast.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a shame. But hopefully things might turn around.
One day, man.
One day
when one of us wins the lottery.
Yeah. I'll buy my team in it.
That's it.
GM Chris and GM Mike. I like that. Yeah, I can go.
There you go, man. There you go.
All right. Yo, Mike, man, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I've enjoyed this one.
Man, really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. And you know, keep up the good work, man. Love seeing all these interviews. And love, you know, just helping the whole culture of basketball grow within England. So hats off to you, man. Keep up the good work, and speak to you soon.
No worries, man. Speak to you soon, bro. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Peace.
Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.